Hi friends, it's Joker here. I'm here in the very first room I ever made. It's called Train Demo because it's a demo of a train rolling through the countryside. In this tutorial video, I want to teach all of you how to make what I'm calling a scrolling environment circuit. That's an environment that scrolls infinitely. You can use it for a lot of things. Right here, you can use it for a train. You could use it for a waterfall. I've used it for credits. You can use it for rainfall or a running stream. So let's get started and I'll let you know how to do this. All right, now it's time to build. Now, think about the scrolling circuit it's actually, it seems like it would be complicated, but I happen to think it's actually very simple. It all hinges on one trick, one function, and that is to make a piston reset back to the start, or jump back to its starting point immediately. I think I can also make this easy by describing. Let's play gizmos and watch. So this is what I'm going to build eventually here. What's happening here is the piston starts and it moves down its track, and then right about the time it gets to the end, it jumps back to the beginning. So that's the loop it's doing. And that's all there is to it, is making the piston go at the time you want from the end of its path and the decorative environment piece to go with it. And that's what we're going to do. So start with the piston, set it move to target that's the tick box in the configuration menu. It's always going to be powered, nothing tricky there. Now, the way I'm going to do, I could, if I wanted to, just configure these pins so that this would move forward, but then I wouldn't have much control over what the piston was doing. So what I'm going to do is use a couple combinators, just plus combinators. Actually, it doesn't really matter that they're plus combinators. Let that sort of, oops, going too many times. All right, and so each of these is going to go to the pin, the speed pin, or the speed pin and the target pin. So target pin, speed pin. And now, actually, all I'm going to do here, I used to use variable chip for this, obviously. Now I don't have to. Well, first let's set the speed. I think I set that to, is it 135? It's 135 centimeters a second. There. So that's the speed this is going to move at. And its target actually doesn't really matter that much because I am sort of forcefully resetting I'm making it jump back to the beginning. So actually, it doesn't matter how far it has to travel, so long as that distance is something longer than the path I want it to move on. And also the max travel distance has to be longer. So let's just make it easy. Make those both 100. So 100 meters. And the target's going to be 100 meters. Or 100 centimeters. So that's going to just start moving along, and that's fine. Now, let's put some output chips. Let's do this again. Some output chips so we can observe what's happening, as always. And then what I'm going to do is all I'm using. So, like I said just a minute ago, all I've done here is I could have put these numbers right on these pins. The reason I didn't is because I want this reset pin of each of these combinators. That's how we make the piston jump from wherever it is back to the beginning. My nice button here. So when I push this button, when I hold it down rather, it's going to reset that one, reset that one. Resetting, at least with combinators, forces the output to become 0. So But why isn't it working for this guy? There we go. Okay, some sort of visual thing. So yeah, when I press that button, it sets the speed and the target to 0. And now remember, the trick here is with a move to target piston, if the speed is 0, that means the speed is infinite. So it jumps, rather than travel to where it's going, it jumps to where it's going. And because at the same time I'm setting the target pin to 0, it's jumping back to 0. And that's all there is to it. So let's take our illustration, our nice little miniaturized piece of Swedish countryside here. This isn't quite a scrolling environment, it's just one thing that I'll be able to make jump, but we'll make that in a minute. So, play gizmos. Alright, so this is, right now I'm just doing this manually. Uh-oh. Okay, there's some sort of weirdness going on where, hopefully it doesn't repeat that. Let's just pretend that's not going to happen anymore, because I've never seen that happen before and hopefully won't again. If we do, I'll make a tutorial about it. Anyway, so as you can see, just whenever I touch this button, I can actually hold it down too. Oh. That's when I hold it down. So whenever I touch this button, it brings it back to the beginning. It's that simple, right? That's the basic trick. That's how scrolling environments work. If you understand how to do that, then you understand everything about scrolling environments. Now, let's just take this and turn it into a scrolling environment. Rather than leave the job half done, or 1/3 done, because I'm going to call this 3 times. Oh, actually, no, that's fine. No, that's fine. So this will almost, I mean, this kind of will work, but not exactly for what I want. The trickiest part about scrolling environments is putting the pieces in, because out of necessity, because they all have to, because they're moving through the same path, and they all have to get back to the starting point. They all have to be layered on top of each other at some point, and that's the trickiest part about this. You'll see me trying to do that right now. I have a general strategy for it. It's just kind of a pain, but I'll let you guys figure that out after you watch me struggle with it a little bit. Basically what I'm doing is I'll just have it be a little bit higher. I think I did like 5 centimeters. I'm not going to be a perfectionist about this because this is just a tutorial. So these are each a little bit higher, but so are the gizmos I'm attaching them to. So now when I move these down, they'll be just about layered on top of each other. All right, there we go. So now, as promised, oops. Now what I have is a manual scrolling environment, but I have to control the timing myself. So, let's see. See if I can get the timing right. Nope. And then you, and you. So, for about the middle of the path there, anybody there is going to experience... These buttons are not cooperating. Is going to experience the environment always appearing right ahead of them. Yep. So, that's what that looks like. And the last piece is to automate this process, because obviously, unless you want to hire somebody in your room to always just be pressing the buttons to make that work, you're gonna use circuits to automate it. So let's get rid of these. And I'm not going to get too into this because the way I do this is I just use an event sequencer. Actually, I'm just going to copy this one from over here because I know it already does exactly what I want to do. So this is an event sequencer. It runs for the amount of time for all 3 to get where they need to be, and then resets its time. This is event 1, which resets the first piece of environment. Event 2 resets the second, and event 3 resets the third. So, reset. And, oh no. Okay. It's this wonderful bug that's happening. That's fine. Just gotta save. It's alright. This game has no bugs. And here, we're gonna watch out for those loopbacks. Okay. So, this automates the process. It just sends, this is like pressing the buttons, except I programmed this to do it at the correct timing. And if I go down here, turn myself into a little person. Oh, oops. Now this feels an awful lot like I'm flying over this little bit of countryside. Especially if I had gadgets. There we go. So I will say a little bit about how I automated it. But I already made a tutorial on this because, like I said, I'm just using an event sequencer here, and I have not one but two tutorials on event sequencers. And like I said, I like the one that uses a tick timer. I will go over briefly what's happening here. This is just counting. This is creating a time index by counting every server tick. Everyone's a tenth of a second, so it's going through 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then all the selector is doing is it watches for specific time indexes, time index 0, 22, 2.2 seconds, 4.4 seconds, 6.5 seconds, and when the time index reaches those, it sends a signal. That's it. So that's how I set the timing. The last one resets, so this sets it to 0. So at this point, it jumps back to 0 when it hits 0. This first one resets, and then 2.2 seconds later, this one resets, and then 2.2 seconds later, that one resets. That's all there is to that. Yeah. That's everything I want to go over. That is the basics of how to make a scrolling environment. I may make another video. There's a little bit more to this. For example, if you stop gizmos, and then you want to start this going, it takes a second. Like I know in train demo, the train is somewhere in the middle, and all the pieces start down there. And so you got to wait a second for them to come at you, and then they start respawning. I got around that problem with what I'm calling an initialization circuit. I'm not going to talk about that one in this tutorial. I might make another one in another tutorial. The other thing I did in train demo is I made this a little bit more random. Right now, this is all the same piece, you can see, but in train demo, I have 5 different pieces, and some of them can get randomly swapped out with other pieces, and that's so that the environment doesn't get too repetitive. And I also have a special circuit for that. I may watch out for another tutorial where I probably put both of those in there. Other than that, that's everything. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial video.